Good evening, everyone. Come on in. So glad you can join us on the Tip Tuesday podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Hale. Delighted to have you on tonight's episode. It's Tip Tuesday. So I hope you're ready for the next couple minutes with a pen, a notepad, your favorite drink, because we're going to dive into a subject that has really helped me achieve some of my personal goals, some of my professional goals, and just expand my quality of life. I'm very passionate about, our audience living to their fullest potential, the fullest potential of their purpose, and just succeeding in whatever goals you set for yourself, whatever they may be. So let's jump in. I got 4 tips for you tonight. So I want to jump right in, and we're talking about increased capacity. So first, let's give a definition for capacity. And that's the maximum amount something can contain or the amount that can be produced. So again, it's the maximum amount that a person or something can contain or the amount that can be produced. So I know that we all have goals, we have dreams, we have aspirations, we have things that we want to do. And there's no limit, like I say, there's no limit to what you can do. But what can limit us is our capacity, because no matter how we desire to do something, no matter how bad we want it, even if it's a part of our God-given purpose, there's no way we can do it without the capacity to hold or produce the results that we want to have. So I'm just going to give you Tiffany Hale's 4 tips to increase capacity. Now, at first listen, it may sound like, oh, this is common sense, but just stick with me. We're going to dive in and we're going to see where we can get it sometimes, and sometimes we don't get it. So let's go into it. And in the comments, let me know what you think. There may be other tips that you've had to increase your capacity. I would love to hear from you. So drop it in the comments as we talk. We're going to start off with the first tip, which is knowledge. Yes, in order for us to increase in any area of our lives, we must have knowledge about that area. So knowledge is just information. We can't increase, we can't grow in any area unless we first have knowledge about that area or that subject. So it's one thing to have a desire to want to do something. It's one thing to have a desire to want to be an expert in an area, but we got to take that first step, which is get information. And this is what I call head knowledge. And so we want to get information, and we want to get accurate information, and we want to get adequate information. So we don't just get any type of information. We want to make sure we're getting accurate information and we're getting adequate information. How do we get that? Knowing specifically what area we need to increase our capacity in. So yes, it's okay to get general information, but if we are targeting a specific goal, we need to get specific information, right? So let's just use some examples so that we can make this clear throughout our episode tonight. Let's say if you were starting a business. Yes, you want to get information about starting a business, but you want to make it even more specific by getting information about starting a business in the field or the industry that you want to be in. Now, don't get me wrong. I think just getting general knowledge about starting a business and different inputs into different situations is great. But at some point, we have to hone in the information that we get, scale it down so that we're getting the specific information that we need to fill up on what we would need to use in the future. And so this is what we call head knowledge, getting information and getting adequate information. Now, I know you may think some people are so full of information and I still don't see any change or increase in capacity in their life. And we'll get into that in step 2 or tip 2 that I'm going to give you. Hey, tip 2, Tip Tuesday. I'll get into that then, but we always want to start with an adequate amount of information. Okay. And so I can give you a specific example. I had a situation or a problem I was dealing with, and I wanted to increase my capacity and overcome in this area. And so one of the first things I had the desire first. And then the second thing is I began to gather information about this area. I began to get expert information. And of course, you all know me here at Tip Tuesday. I began to get information from the Word of God and knowledge from the Word of God on this particular subject. So, one, getting information. So, let's say starting a business. Let's say you're going through a problem. You need to overcome something, or you have a goal set. We want to get specific information. Tip two is understanding. So it's one thing to have information. It's another thing to have understanding. And understanding is comprehension. And I believe that the best way to get comprehension or understanding about any matter is you have to take the information that you've gained and put it to use. You can only get hand knowledge. So we talked about information being head knowledge. Understanding is more of hand knowledge. It's me taking the information or the knowledge I've gotten and starting to apply it to certain areas of my goals, of my life, or of whatever I'm trying to do. And so when we talked about people having an overload of information, because sometimes people spend so much time getting so much information and they never do anything with it. All the information in the world will not help us achieve our goals or increase our quality of life. We have to, at some point, we can gather adequate enough amount of information, but at some point we have to start biting off that information and actually doing something with it. We cannot just keep it in theory. Information is just theory as long as it's in our head. Understanding comes from experience. That means that we have actually started to put the information that we're gaining to use. And so going back to my example of people who want to start a business, they've gathered so much information and now it's time to start putting that information to use. You know that if you need an EIN, then you need to start putting it to use by going to apply for one, and that brings an understanding. Once you start actually putting the information into practice, you start getting an understanding. I have a dear cousin of mine who is really getting a lot of information and understanding in a field that she's going to be launching out into. It has to be with nutrition. It has to do with nutrition and healthy lifestyle. And so she's gained a lot of information, and she was letting me know that she's going to start putting some of her recipes to the test, having people come over, taste it, trying out different things, because at some point the information that she's gained has to become understanding, and you don't understand something till you actually start doing it, right? So that's the hand knowledge. And then I'm going to go to the third tip, and this is really important. Drop in the comments any tips that you may have. I would love to see what you guys are doing to increase your capacity or your maximum ability to produce or hold something. So I'm going to go to tip 3, and that's insight. Yes. And it may sound like it's the same as understanding, but it's not. Let me give you a definition. Insight is the accurate and deep intuitive understanding of a person or thing. It's the power to see into a situation, and it's penetration. It's what I call heart knowledge. So you can have head knowledge, you can have hand knowledge, and you can have heart knowledge. Insight moves you past information. It moves you past general understanding, and it actually puts you inside of the situation where all blind spots and roadblocks could be removed, because you can have an understanding of something but still have a blind spot to it. You can have an understanding of something and still experience a lot of roadblocks, because there comes a point where the information and the understanding that we have needs to place us in the center of the situation so that we can see intuitively what we need to do, how we need to do it, and what resources we need to move forward. So increasing our capacity, and I'll go back to the example I used of a situation I was trying to increase my capacity in and just overcome in this situation personally. So I got information and I really got an understanding, just some information I gained. I really got an understanding of that. I got an understanding of the word as I was reading, and I was applying it to, areas of my life. And I just really thought, I really had, and I did. I started increasing in my capacity because of the information and because of the understanding. But I'm going to tell you what made the difference. One day, I really immersed myself into this situation, and I got a deep insight about it. So I put myself in it. I put the information that I gained in it. I put the understanding that I gained in it, and then there was an illumination within my heart. And so insight brings illumination, and it removed the blind spots so that I could really position myself. Insight causes you to position yourself, and I needed to position myself in order to gain the capacity that I need. There was a certain way I needed to be positioned. And so insight gave me that. It's a deep, intuitive understanding that penetrates a situation. So we went from information to understanding to insight, which is penetration. And sometimes we don't follow through with the information and the understanding that we have long enough in order to gain a stature or momentum enough to penetrate a situation. So once we've penetrated a situation, we are in there. You hear me? We have really opened ourselves up to be able to receive all that we need to receive to move forward in this area. And then it brings me to my last tip. Mentorship. That's number 4. Once we've gotten capacity, listen, capacity is the foundation. That's why I wanted to start with capacity. We can get all the resources that we want. We can have all the ideas. We can have all the plans. We can have all the strategies, but we need the capacity for those places, for those results to have a place to rest. But we can have all the capacity. We can increase in our capacity. We can expand in our capacity. We can stretch in our capacity. Sometimes we're lacking mentorship. Mentorship is the key that is going to fill that container that you've now expanded so that you can get the maximum results that you want out of this effort or initiative you're starting. So I have expanded my container. I've expanded the space that I have in order to walk in big places in this area that I want to be in. A mentor comes along and helps you to fulfill or fill that container. How? Because a mentor is someone who holds us accountable and gives wise counsel. Once you've opened yourself up, your mind up, your spirit up, your emotions up to be able to contain the greatness that you're seeking to achieve, there has to be someone there that holds you accountable and gives you wise counsel. If you never walked down a road or a way before, I'm telling you, it is unwise to walk down that road without counsel. The word says that there is safety in the multitude of counselors. And also, I am a woman of faith, so I will use biblical examples, and not to offend anyone, but yeah, this is where I come from with it. And so we know that even in the word, Joshua, when he was leading the Israelites over into the promised land, he told them to stay 2,000 feet behind the priest, or cubits, something like that, and so that they could see the guide, which was the Ark of the Covenant, because they had never been that way before. And so his counsel was to them was stay back far enough so that you can follow the priest into the place that you're going, because you don't know where you're going because you've never been there before. And so when you've never been somewhere that you're trying to go, wise counsel will tell you, hey, this is a way you can do this. Follow me or follow that person. And it's not a follow in that do everything that they do. It's a follow as in a path. You know how sometimes a path can be really wide? And so this person is on this path and they may stop here. They may have a stop here or there, and you're on the path too. And you may have a stop here or there, but at least you're on the road that you need to be on. You know, I'm in Chicago. If I'm going to Memphis, hey, I know that I need to be on I-57. And there may be some stops and turns and exits up on that road, but as long as I'm on I-57, I know I'm on the path. Same thing. A mentor helps you get on the path that you need to be on, holds you accountable, and gives you wise counsel. So that's Tip Tuesday's tips on increasing our capacity. We need it for effective leadership. We need it to live a better quality of life or expand in our quality of life. And we also need it to accomplish some of the goals that we've set that probably have just been sitting around, and not that we don't have the passion or the heart for it or that they're not authentic goals. I believe that we have authentic goals, but we just sometimes are confused on the steps we need to take to achieve those goals. And tonight's episode was to let you know capacity. Increasing your capacity is the first step you should take in accomplishing your goals. What do you think? What do you guys think about the tips that I've given? And what are some tips that you have? Drop them in the comments. I will reply back to you. I would love to hear from you. And I'm looking forward to walking out this series with you even more, and just bringing on some great guests who will have more to add to this topic. Hope you enjoyed Tip Tuesday. We're doing big things. We're going to great places. You're going to see a lot of revamps coming. I know I keep saying that, but I just want to let you know you're going to see a lot of different changes, and I hope you all enjoy. We're putting a lot of work into it. We are passionate about giving you information that's going to help you succeed in your personal development, in your leadership development, in your executive roles, and in your entrepreneurial roles. Okay? We love you here. Have a great night, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.